Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to dive into something we all use every single day, like all the time, communication.
Oh, yeah.
We're going deep with, an essay.
Okay.
It's called 18 Golden Core Fundamental Principles of Mastering the Science and Art of Communication and Precision Communication.
Wow.
That's a mouthful. It's by Joseph Aminian from 2024, so it's pretty new.
Right, right.
What really struck me about Aminian's approach is how much he emphasizes the inner work.
Yeah.
He says that true communication actually starts within, by cultivating inner silence
Interesting.
and really understanding your own body as the vehicle for your message. So it's not just about finding the right words.
Yeah.
It's more about self-awareness, right?
Absolutely. It's like he's saying we all have this potential, this talent, creativity already inside. So effective communication isn't becoming someone else.
Right.
It's refining how we express what's already there.
That really resonates with me because I know when I felt my most confident when I'm communicating, it's when I've been myself, not trying to force some persona.
Yeah, trying to fit in.
Okay.
It's kind of like, so Aminian talks about these 18 principles, right? And he argues that the very first one you have to remember is to ground everything, your communication, in truth.
So wait, does that mean no more white lies?
Well,
Even if it's to protect someone's feelings.
well, hold on. I mean, it's not quite that simple. Remember,
Well-
he talks about that inner work, right? Aligning your inner truth
Yeah.
with how you're expressing it. Sometimes being tactful is part of that.
Okay.
But the message itself, it has to be genuine.
Okay, so it's honesty, but with, kindness,
Yeah.
strategy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, think about it. That foundation of honesty, that builds trust with your audience.
Right.
If you're writing a blog post or giving a presentation,
Yeah.
people can tell if you're being genuine or not.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, so let's say I'm working on a proposal for work.
Okay.
How could I apply this truth principle?
Well, Aminian suggests starting with one clear, honest statement that reflects your genuine perspective. And it could be some core value that you have, a personal belief, or even a fact that supports your proposal.
So it's like this North Star for the whole project.
Yeah.
This one thing that guides everything.
It keeps you focused, keeps your message consistent, but it also helps your audience understand your motivations.
Right.
Which helps you build that connection.
Right from the start. Okay. So truth, honesty, foundation, got it.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's more to effective communication than just being honest, right?
Yeah.
How do you make sure that people actually pay attention?
Oh, for sure, for sure. And that's where we get to Aminian's second principle, which might seem a little bit counterintuitive at first.
Okay.
It's basically, he says, leave your audience wanting more.
Wait, is this like a cliffhanger?
Exactly. Yeah. It's about creating intrigue and engagement.
Okay. I love a good cliffhanger in my TV shows.
Yeah.
But, oh man, sometimes it drives me crazy.
Yeah, I know. It can be frustrating, but they're effective. Think about it. A well-placed cliffhanger makes you need to know what happens next. It keeps you engaged.
Right.
So it's the same with any type of communication, right? If you reveal everything up front, you kind of risk losing your audience's interest.
So, so it's like being strategic with the information you're giving when you're giving it.
Yes, it's about pacing yourself.
Okay.
Keeping the audience engaged. And, this is especially important nowadays, right? Just think about how much information you're processing every day.
Yeah.
Work, news, social media, it's just constant. So leaving them wanting more helps you cut through all that noise.
Okay, so it's about, respecting the audience's time and attention.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, but how do you actually do that? How would you apply this to, let's say, giving a presentation at work?
Okay, well, one thing you could try is ending each section with a question that leads into the next. Or, you could reveal a key insight gradually throughout the presentation instead of, just putting everything out there right at the beginning.
Okay.
So it's about building anticipation.
Yeah.
Making the audience feel like they're on a journey with you.
Not just passively listening. Okay.
Yeah.
So truth first. Then
Yeah.
we've got pacing and intrigue.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Well, this next one is all about, giving your mind space to recharge. Aminian calls it sustainable productivity.
Does he mean taking breaks?
Exactly.
But I always thought that to be successful, you have to constantly hustle. push yourself to the limit.
I know, I know. And hustle can be important, for sure.
Right.
But Aminian really cautions against, burning yourself out. Because if you keep pushing yourself nonstop, you'll hit diminishing returns. And in the long run, it can make your communication less effective.
Oh, so it's about, like, being strategic,
Yeah.
finding a balance between pushing forward and taking time to, to recharge.
Yeah, it's like training for a marathon, right? If you're constantly pushing to the max, you'll get injured, you'll burn out. You got to pace yourself, listen to your body. Take breaks. And your mind's the same.
Yeah, you're right. I remember this one time I was working on this huge project. I was like hitting a wall, staring at my computer for hours. Nothing good was coming out. And finally, I just went for a walk. And suddenly, ideas just started popping up everywhere.
That's amazing.
And I got back to my desk and felt totally energized, ready to go.
That's the power of taking a break. You allow your subconscious mind to, to process, to make connections, to come up with fresh insights.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Totally, totally. And when you come back, you're more focused, more creative, you can communicate more effectively.
Okay, breaks are good. Self-care is important. Got it.
Mm.
We can try to incorporate that more.
Yeah.
What else is on Aminian's list?
Okay, well, the next one is, it's all about making connections, building on what you've already established. And he calls it continuity is key.
Continuity. So it's like creating a thread that runs through your message.
Yes.
Whether it's like a bunch of emails or a conversation with a friend, it's like making sure everything flows together.
It does. Think of it like building a house. Each brick, each beam, they have to connect to create this solid structure.
Right.
But if there are, gaps, inconsistencies, the whole thing becomes unstable.
Okay, so does that mean I have to like keep a log of every conversation and every email?
No. You don't have to go that far.
Okay.
It's more about like having an awareness of the flow of information. Like if you're writing, maybe you reread the previous chapter before starting a new one, or in a conversation, maybe you briefly summarize the key points before moving on to a new topic.
Okay. So it's about being aware of the context, making sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. And, this applies to everything, not just communication. Think about your career. Like, each job, each project builds on the last one. It creates the story of your professional journey.
Or even in relationships. You're always building on those shared experiences, memories, inside jokes. It deepens that bond,
Exactly. Continuity gives context and strengthens those connections.
Okay, I see how all these principles, like, start connecting to each other. They're all building blocks. What's next?
Well, the next one is, it's a classic one, show, don't tell.
Yeah, the golden rule of storytelling. But how does that apply to like everyday communication? It's not like we're all, writing novels.
Well, it's about conveying ideas and emotions through actions rather than just explicitly stating them.
Okay.
So like imagine you see someone slam a door in anger. You instantly understand their emotional state, right? It's way more powerful than just hearing them say, I'm angry.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. It's like showing the emotion instead of just telling people about it.
Exactly. Do you have any examples that come to mind?
Oh. Think about that scene in Up where Carl ties the balloons to his house and he just floats away.
Oh, yeah.
There's no dialogue or anything.
No.
But you could feel the grief and the determination all at once.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
And you can apply that to verbal communication, too. Instead of saying she was happy, you might describe, like, her infectious laughter and her sparkling eyes.
Okay.
You let the audience experience those emotions.
So it's like painting a picture.
It is.
With words, with actions. Engages the audience's senses, their imagination.
Absolutely. And it leads us perfectly into the next principle, which is start simple, build later.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that one speaks to me. I'm terrible at like over-explaining things. It's like when I try to teach my grandmother how to use a new app on her phone. I end up confusing her more than helping.
That's so common. We often assume others have the same level of knowledge as we do, right?
Yeah.
But Aminian emphasizes like the importance of starting with a simple foundation that everyone can grasp. And then you gradually add complexity.
So it's like building a skyscraper. You start with a solid foundation, then you add the floors, the details, the complexity.
I love that analogy because if you try to build everything at once, the whole thing's going to collapse. And when you overwhelm people with too much info at the start, they're just going to tune out.
So start simple, build trust, and then bring in the more complex ideas once they've got the basics.
Exactly.
I can definitely use that for my work presentations. What's next?
Okay, well, this next one is especially relevant in our fast-paced world. brevity is power.
Oh, man, I need to work on that one.
Oh, yeah.
I can get carried away with explanations, stories, all that.
We all have our quirks. But,
Yeah.
today everyone is constantly bombarded with information, so getting to the point quickly it's more important than ever.
Yeah. Our attention spans are like shrinking by the minute.
That's right.
So less is more.
In a way, yeah. Think about like a really good tweet. You only have so many characters to get your message across.
Right.
So every word has to be really concise, really impactful.
And sometimes a strong image or just a few words can be more impactful than a whole paragraph of explanation.
That's right.
Okay, I feel like I need to like revamp my entire communication style after this.
Yeah.
What's next?
Well, this next one really resonates with me. Be your authentic self.
Oh, that's a good one. Especially today when there's so much pressure to project a certain image, on social media,
Yeah.
at work.
Totally. It can be really tough to resist that pressure.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like you have to present a certain persona to fit in?
Oh, totally. Especially when I was first starting out in my career, I felt like I had to like sound super formal and professional.
Uh-huh.
And it felt so unnatural. Honestly, it was exhausting.
Oh, I bet. What happened? Did you eventually break free from that?
I did. Yeah. There was this one day I just decided I was going to let my guard down, be myself, and I cracked a joke during a meeting. Everyone laughed. It felt great.
It's amazing.
And it helped me connect with people on a more genuine level.
That's fantastic. And, Aminian argues that, like, embracing your unique voice and perspective, that's crucial for building trust, creating those genuine connections.
And it's so much less tiring than, trying to be someone you're not.
Oh, yeah. When you feel comfortable in your own skin, your communication is just more natural, more engaging, more effective.
I love all of this.
Yeah.
But is there ever a point where you can just say, like, okay, I've mastered it. I'm done learning about communication?
That's a great question, and it leads us to another key principle, and that is never stop evolving.
So it's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. Just like, a musician never stops practicing, we should never stop honing our communication skills. There's always room for improvement, for growth.
Oh, that's actually exciting. So there are always new challenges, new skills to master.
Yeah, there are. And remember, it's not about being perfect.
Okay.
It's about continually learning, growing, trying to communicate more effectively.
Okay, embrace the lifelong learning journey of communication.
Yep.
Okay, but before we move on, I have a confession.
Right.
Sometimes, even when I'm trying to listen to someone, my mind wanders.
Oh, yeah.
I get distracted by my to-do list or like a funny meme I saw online or whatever.
We all struggle with that.
Yeah.
And that actually brings us to one of the most crucial principles, the art of listening.
Okay, tell me all about this.
Well, the first step is acknowledging that listening is just as important as speaking.
Okay,
Maybe even more important.
because it's about really understanding the other person,
Yeah.
not just waiting for your turn to talk.
Exactly. And Aminian really emphasizes that listening, true listening, is an active process.
Yeah.
It's about focusing your attention on the speaker, paying attention to their words, their tone, their body language.
So put away your phone, close the laptop, look at the person.
It's an excellent start.
Okay.
It's also about asking questions, making sure you understand, reflecting back what you've heard, being present in the moment.
Okay, I'm starting to feel a little guilty about all those times I've half listened to someone while, scrolling through social media.
Don't be too hard on yourself. We all have those moments. The key is just to be aware of them and make a conscious effort to be more present.
Okay, I'm ready to level up my listening skills.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be real. Sometimes, even when you're trying your best to communicate, things can go wrong,
Yeah. Your
Your words and actions don't always match up.
That's a great point. And that brings us to principle number 11. Align your words and actions.
Oh, I have the perfect example of this.
Okay.
I once had this boss who talked constantly about work-life balance,
Uh-huh.
but he would send emails like all hours of the night, weekends.
Oh, classic mixed signals.
Yeah.
And yeah, those inconsistencies, they create confusion. They erode trust.
It's like you're saying one thing,
Yeah,
but your actions are saying something totally different.
exactly. And, people tend to believe actions more than words.
So if I tell my team to prioritize their well-being, but I'm always working late, they're not going to buy it.
That's right. Being mindful of our nonverbal communication, that's so important. Our body language, tone of voice, facial expressions, it all sends messages.
So it's about the whole package, not just the words coming out.
Exactly. And when our words and actions are aligned, we project authenticity, we build trust.
Okay. Got to pay more attention to those nonverbal cues now. But sometimes communication gets tricky, even when everyone has good intentions.
Oh, yeah.
You're dealing with emotions, different perspectives, things can get heated.
Yeah, that's true. And that's where principle number 12 comes in, which is develop emotional intelligence. It's a big topic, but essentially it's about navigating those emotionally charged situations in an effective way. It really can. It can make or break things.
So how do we even develop this emotional intelligence thing? I gotta admit, sometimes I don't even understand my own emotions,
Yeah.
let alone trying to figure out someone else's.
It's definitely a practice. It doesn't happen overnight. And Aminian really believes that it's so vital for strong relationships, for navigating conflict,
Yeah.
and for communicating with empathy. And he says that it's basically about recognizing, your emotions and those of others, and then like managing them effectively.
Okay, that makes sense. But where do you even begin with that? That seems like a lot.
Well, I think a good first step is just becoming more aware of your own emotional responses.
Right.
Like pay attention to how different situations make you feel, what triggers certain emotions,
Right.
and then how those emotions are influencing, how you're communicating.
So like, if I'm already stressed, I'm more likely to snap at someone over something small.
Exactly, yeah. Or misunderstand what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
But once you're more aware of those patterns, you can start to manage them better.
Okay.
Even something as simple as like taking a breath before you react, right? You give yourself a moment to choose a more constructive response.
Okay. So instead of like getting frustrated when my coworker misses a deadline,
Yeah.
I could, take a second to understand why and offer support instead of just getting mad.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about responding thoughtfully instead of just reacting instinctively. And it applies to other people's emotions too. Like, can you usually tell when someone's upset or stressed, even if they don't say it out loud?
Sometimes I'm really good at reading people.
Uh-huh.
And then other times I'm totally clueless.
Yeah, we're all learning.
Yeah.
But being able to recognize those emotional cues, whether it's a change in tone or body language, it can help you communicate so much more effectively because it lets you adapt your approach.
Right.
Maybe you soften your tone or use more empathetic language.
So it's like mirroring their emotional state
Yes.
to build trust and understanding.
Exactly. You're meeting people where they are emotionally, you
Yeah.
know? You're communicating in a way that resonates with them.
This kind of reminds me of what we were talking about before with being present.
Right.
Mindful communication. Principle number 13.
All right, you got it. Yes. Mindful communication is about focusing on the person in front of you, being present, truly listening to what they're saying.
It's like the opposite of multitasking.
Totally.
No checking your email or scrolling through your phone while they're talking to you.
Exactly. It's about creating that space for genuine connection, free from distractions, from judgment.
You know what? I'm totally guilty of that. Just last week, I was having lunch with a friend, and I was so busy responding to work emails, I barely heard anything she said. I felt terrible afterward.
Oh,
Yeah.
happens to the best of us.
But those little distractions can hurt relationships,
Yeah.
and they make communication so much harder.
They do. So how do we become more mindful?
Yeah. I need to break this habit.
Well, it starts with awareness. The next time you find your mind wandering, just gently guide it back to the present moment.
Okay.
Just try to focus on the person you're with. It's almost like meditation. You're training your mind to stay focused.
Okay, so meditation for conversations.
Yeah.
I like it.
No more phone during coffee breaks.
I promise. No more phone. But even when you're being present, you're emotionally intelligent. Disagreements are still going to happen.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And that brings us to principle number 14.
Okay.
Cultivate respectful disagreement. So it's all about, navigating those differences of opinion in a way that's productive, not destructive.
Well, that feels especially relevant these days.
It does.
It seems like everyone's always arguing online, in person. How do you even have a respectful disagreement when everything feels so polarized?
It's a good point. And, what Aminian argues is that respectful disagreement, it's not about avoiding conflict.
Okay.
It's about engaging in those tough conversations constructively.
So no shouting matches?
No shouting matches?
No personal attacks?
No. It starts with listening to understand, not just listening to respond.
Okay.
It's acknowledging the other person's viewpoint, even if you don't agree with it. And then you can express your own opinion clearly and respectfully.
Okay, so even if I think someone is totally wrong, I can still have a good conversation with them.
You can, yeah. Every disagreement is a chance to learn, to grow, to see the world from a different perspective.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think it's important to use those like I statements, where you're focusing on your own feelings rather than blaming the other person.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And you can try to avoid absolutes like always and never. Use phrases like in my experience or from my perspective.
Okay.
It keeps it open to dialogue.
Yeah, so it's a space for understanding, not a battleground.
Yes, I love that. And when you approach conversations like that with respect and a willingness to listen, you might just learn something new, even if you don't ultimately agree.
That's good advice. You might try to remember that the next time I have a tough conversation. But, communication is not just about words and feelings.
Right.
Actions matter too, right?
They do. That brings us to principle number 15. Use action to evoke meaning.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah.
So it's not enough to just talk about stuff. We have to, walk the walk.
Yes. Actions speak louder than words. And they can be so powerful when it comes to, conveying meaning, making an impact.
I'm trying to think of an example. Oh. That scene in WALL-E where WALL-E gives Eve the plant he found. He doesn't say anything. But that act, it says so much about hope and love and belief in the future.
Oh, that's such a good example. It's such a small gesture.
Right.
But it carries so much emotion. And we use actions to communicate all the time in all kinds of ways. A hug, a smile, offering to help. These actions can say things that sometimes words just can't.
I'm thinking about how this applies to leadership. If you're leading a team, it's not enough to just say you value their contributions. You have to show it.
Exactly. Celebrate those successes, offer support when they need it, create a positive environment.
Yeah.
Those actions will speak volumes.
So it's about putting my values into practice.
Yeah.
Aligning my actions with my words.
It is. And when you do that, you build trust, you inspire people, you create a more meaningful experience. But what about the absence of action? Or I guess I should say the absence of words.
You're talking about silence, right?
I am.
The power of silence. Principle number 16.
That's right. Silence is often so underestimated, especially in our world, which is so loud and so fast-paced.
Sometimes it's good to just listen, let the other person talk. I get that. But is there really power in silence?
There is. There really is. Aminian believes that those strategic pauses, those moments of silence, can make your communication so much stronger.
How? How so?
Well, for one thing, it gives your audience time to absorb what you've said.
Okay.
Right?
Oh,
It lets the information really sink in, and that creates a bigger impact.
Yeah.
It's like letting the music breathe between the notes.
I like that.
Yeah. Silence can also create anticipation. It draws your audience in and makes them, eager to hear what you're going to say next. Think about it in terms of public speaking.
Okay. Yeah.
A speaker who pauses after they say something really powerful, it gives the audience time to feel the weight of those words.
So it's not just about being quiet. It's about using silence intentionally.
Yes.
To emphasize a point, to let people process information.
Exactly. It's like adding white space to a painting.
Okay.
It gives the eye a place to rest. It lets the other elements stand out more.
I'm going to be more mindful of that. Use silence more. But I got to say, with all these principles, all these techniques, it can feel a bit overwhelming. Where do you even start?
That's very true, yeah. And luckily, it leads us right into principle number 17, cultivate patience and persistence.
So becoming a skilled communicator, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes dedication to learning and growing. It's like learning a new language.
Yeah.
Or a new musical instrument. You're not going to be fluent overnight.
So there are going to be times when I mess up.
Of course, yes.
When I feel like I'm not making progress.
Yeah. There will be moments of frustration, there will be setbacks. You might even feel like giving up, but the key is to keep practicing.
Yeah.
And to be patient with yourself. Celebrate those small victories. Learn from your mistakes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a journey.
It is.
Continuous learning, continuous growth. Okay, I can do this.
That's the spirit. And the more you practice, the more you experiment, the more comfortable and confident you'll become.
Okay, feeling motivated. We've covered so much.
Yeah.
19 principles. Is there one that kind of brings everything together?
There is. And it might be the most important one of all. The art of listening.
Wait, haven't we already talked about listening?
We have.
Yeah.
But Aminian keeps coming back to it again and again. It's that crucial.
Okay.
True listening is the foundation for for everything.
Remind me why it's so important. We tend to focus so much on what we're saying, we forget to listen.
Yeah. If you're not truly listening to the other person, you're not really engaging in an exchange of ideas, right?
Yeah.
You're just waiting for your turn to talk.
Ouch.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
The key is to consciously shift your focus from speaking to listening.
Okay.
Make that real effort to hear what the other person's saying and understand them.
So it's not about just waiting for my turn.
No.
It's about actually taking in what they're saying,
Yes.
processing it,
Yes.
and responding in a way that shows I get it.
Exactly. And Aminian, he points out that active listening, it involves a few key things.
Okay, what are they? How can I be a better listener?
Well, first and foremost, pay attention, put away your phone, close your laptop, make eye contact. All those distractions can wait.
Okay, no more multitasking during conversations.
Exactly.
No.
Then you want to focus on really understanding what they're saying. Pay attention to their tone, their body language, their facial expressions.
Right.
Read between the lines, pick up on those subtle cues.
It's about empathy,
Yes.
putting yourself in their shoes.
Exactly. And when you listen with empathy, you build trust, you strengthen those relationships, and it just makes the whole experience so much more positive.
Okay, I'm convinced.
Good.
Active listening is key.
It is.
Is there anything else Aminian mentions in his essay?
He does emphasize one more principle, and I think it'll be especially helpful for you as you go through your career and your life.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Okay, it's principle number 19. Align your words and actions.
Wait, but haven't we already talked about that?
We have, but he keeps coming back to it. It's that fundamental, especially when it comes to, building trust, building credibility.
Okay. Why is it so important?
Well, if your words and actions don't align, if you say one thing and you do another, people are going to question your sincerity.
Right, like when a parent tells their kid to eat their veggies and then they order pizza for themselves.
Exactly. Or a boss who talks about work-life balance but then sends emails all night long.
Yeah. It sends mixed signals.
It does. And it applies to every area of life. If you value honesty, be honest in your interactions.
Right.
If you're committed to a project, put in the time and effort.
Okay, so it's about consistency.
It is.
My actions have to match my values, my words.
That's right. And when you do that, you build a reputation for integrity, for authenticity, and that's essential for success in any field.
Okay, I'm getting the message. Align your words and actions.
Yes.
We've covered a lot today.
We have.
19 principles. What's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
That's a great question. I think the most important takeaway is that communication is a skill. And like any skill, it takes practice, patience, and a willingness to learn and grow.
So it's okay to mess up?
It is.
To feel like I'm not getting it right away.
It's okay. Every conversation, every interaction is a chance to practice, to refine your skills, to become a better communicator.
So it's not about being perfect.
No.
It's about continually learning and improving. I like that.
And remember, communication it's about connection.
Yeah.
It's about building bridges between people, understanding and being understood.
That's beautifully said. When we approach communication with that goal, with an open mind, with a willingness to listen, we create a much better experience.
We do.
For ourselves and for everyone around us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Connection, understanding, it's really why we communicate in the first place. Before we wrap up, though,
Yeah.
I have one more question for you.
Okay.
Inspired by Aminian's essay.
Okay, shoot.
Imagine you could snap your fingers and instantly master one of these 19 principles.
No.
Just one, like that.
Yeah.
Which one would you pick and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, they all kind of work together, right? It's hard to just choose one. But, I think I would go with the art of listening.
Really, why? Why listening?
For me, true listening, that's like the foundation. It's about like setting aside your own agenda and really focusing on what the other person's saying. Not just the words, but like their tone, their body language.
Like quieting that voice in your head that's already planning what you're going to say before they even finish.
Yes, exactly. And when you listen like that, with that intention, with empathy, you create space for a real connection.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe by mastering that one skill, we naturally start embodying some of those other principles too,
Right.
We become more mindful, more empathetic, more respectful.
It creates a ripple effect, starting with that one core principle.
Exactly.
Okay. So, to our listener out there, I challenge you.
Yes. Yeah.
Embrace the art of listening. See how it changes your conversations today, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Every day.
It's a practice. It's a journey.
It is.
But it can transform things.
Well, that's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
And to our listener, keep those conversations flowing. Keep building those connections. And remember, you have the power to communicate effectively. Until the next time.